Hello and welcome to Dad and Sons. Who's the dad? Who are the sons? You decide here at Dad and Sons, your number one source for dads and sons. We got new dads, we got old dads, we got George, that's me, we got Matt Visual.
What's up?
We got Liam Edwards.
Yo.
And we're all here to talk massive shit about the new Star War and how much we hate it and how we'd rather watch Star Trek Into Darkness instead. And how Jar Jar Binks is our favorite character and we're very disappointed that he didn't make a cameo.
Yeah.
That's going to be coming up at the
1 hour, 4 minutes, 30 seconds.
Minute. You can go ahead and just skip to that one. The
1 hour, 4 minutes, 30 seconds.
Minute. Of all the minutes in the podcast, the one you're going to want is the
1 hour, 4 minutes, 30 seconds.
one. So we actually pre-recorded the Star Wars spoiler chat ahead of time, which is how those edits are going to happen. We're going to be actually starting the podcast off with some regular old small talk news and viewer emails. Spoiler cast comes out later, so in order to get that done, what have you guys been up to this week?
Playing old Super Nintendo games at a Christmas party.
That sounds comfy as heck.
Dude, that was the comfiest I've been in ages.
If I said a more shocking swear word, that would make it less comfy somehow.
It was nothing but food, blankets, eggnog, for the first time in my life, by the way. It was beautiful.
Ooh.
And playing...
Yeah? Did you get hammered?
Eggnog's not really a thing in the UK. I don't know, maybe there are some UK-based people who are listening who have had eggnog before, but I've never had it, so that was a first. So one of my American friends here in Japan made like a big batch of it, and it was delicious.
You're getting hammered on eggnog is like the most pleasant sugar coma.
It was.
Or sugar coma, I guess sugar rush. It's like
it was beautiful.
You're really, really hyper, but also sloppy and clumsy.
I'm not usually like a fan of liqueur alcohol, like creamy alcohol, but
those are the only ones I can handle.
But that was really nice, and basically just eating a lot of food in a blanket with friends, playing dumb Super Nintendo games on the Japanese Super Famicom Classic version. It was great. It was awesome.
Do they still hold up? What games?
So we're playing the Japanese versions of games like Contra, which is way hard.
Yeah.
I can't believe I finished that in university with some friends. I don't know how we did it, because that game is so hard.
Wait, are there differences between the Japanese version and the other version?
Not that I know of. Nothing that stands out immediately. There might be some differences between them. There's definitely differences in the box art and the name. Because I remember in Europe, they changed the box art to look like aliens completely. But I don't know if there's any gameplay difference. We played a little bit of Ghosts and Goblins, well, Super Ghosts and Goblins, and didn't get very far in that either, because that you think Dark Souls is hard? My God, people. My God. Oh, we got a lot of Dark Souls comments from last week's episode, which was delightful.
Oh, yeah. Matt, you went through the same process, I think, that Jimmy did on the TOVG podcast. And there's like Dark Souls fans who don't get it, who will never understand what it's like to get lost in Firelink Shrine when you begin the game. I got lost in Firelink Shrine when I began the game and went down the wrong path until 2 days until someone corrected me, and it happens. This happens so much. It's such a familiar story that there's a real problem with the level design.
I feel like it's ingrained in them because they've played it so much that they don't remember what the first time was like.
Yeah, they only know that they're like superstars now. So I went back in, and I just turned to the right, and there it was.
There it is. I know, right? It makes you feel like such an idiot.
What the hell? I went through the little because it's kind of blocked by the architecture, or whatever you want to call it, the stones.
Yes, there are visible blockages. It looks like a cliff when you first look out and look that way.
Yeah, so you go through that little hole there, and then all of a sudden, there it is.
There's Dark Souls.
and then you just kill everything. I was like, wow, this is way easier than what I was doing before. I was like, okay.
Nice.
So yeah.
Well done, Matt.
Yeah, I went through it and it wasn't too hard. I thought this game had a crazy difficulty curve, but apparently it's okay. I went up and beat the gargoyles and
you did that
after a couple. Yeah, I just went up and beat those guys, and I went to the dragon while I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. And then but yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know. I feel like I need to be in a mood to play that game.
Yes.
It feels like I've done this already for some reason.
You have.
Because now it's not new and fresh anymore. It's like people have been using the same thing over and over again.
Well, it gets commented on,
but that's fine because
especially that start of the game.
You still got to play the good ones.
Hold on, I didn't know you both talked at the same time. What did you say,
Liam?
Well, it's because like the starting area of that game, I think, has been commented on so much. Obviously, meeting Sunbro and that whole area with the dragon is like the most iconic part of Dark Souls. I think everyone has like mitosis that information in some way, and everyone knows how to do it now. Apart from that aqueduct part, which for some reason you missed.
Yeah.
It's visually obscured.
True.
Yeah, I should have seen it. Like when you see it, you're like, oh, I should have seen that. And usually I don't miss stuff like that, but this time I was just, I don't know. I guess like my mind was just trying to go forward, and I just did not see because there's like multiple of those I guess like gateways. I don't know what you want to call them, arches.
Yeah.
Where you can go through and you just get turned around in there.
As it was pointed out, we said bridge last time, but it's definitely an aqueduct kind of thing.
Definitely not a bridge. I was like,
it
where's
functions
the bridge?
as a bridge.
Well, for the player, yeah.
Yeah. It's air transportation.
Speaking of hard games,
yes.
Going back to the Super Famicom for a second, the game we ended up playing the most of,
the comfy com,
having given up on Contra, giving up on Super Ghosts and Goblins, and not being able to play like the massive RPGs on that thing, there is one strange addition to the Super Famicom in Japan that didn't get added to the European and the American one, which is a game called Super Soccer. So out of
what's that game about?
Out of all of the games they could have chosen for the Super Famicom here in Japan, one of them was a soccer game called Super Soccer. Now, I'm cool with that because I like soccer, although it cringes me to say the word soccer many times.
Yeah.
But this game, talking about hard games, this game was almost impossible to score a goal, and it took us, I think, about 8 matches before we could score a goal, because the goalkeeper in that game was a machine. Like, the Super Nintendo just would not let you score. The keeper could magnetically Jedi mind trick his way to every goal, every kick of the ball, and would just grab it out of the air. So the most intense fun and the most difficult game we came across was the strange edition of Super Soccer.
Super Football.
So were you playing against an AI, or was it like a 2-player match?
So it's a 2-player game, and I will admit the Mode 7, I think they used Mode 7 in that game because the sort of simulated 3D of the soccer field is really cool in that game. I don't know if it was a late release on the Super Famicom back in the day, but it was incredibly impressive to see it sort of scroll back and forth with the 11 players on each team. But the keeper was, you could set it to manual or auto, and manual was incredibly difficult to control. So we just set it to auto, which means,
incredibly difficult to
do everything.
Do anything.
Yeah. But the passing and moving around the pitch was kind of intuitive. Like, being limited to just one D-pad and having to control a whole team. Like, when you don't have the ball, all of the players are basically controllable, so they all run in the same direction. It's kind of hilarious. There's there's like symmetry between 11 players just running back and forth as you like control them. But the keeper is automatic, so he just grabs the ball whenever you go near him, or every time you kick it towards the goal, and the goal being only able to shoot in 4 directions because of the way the D-pad works, the keeper would just like, you couldn't even get past him. He was literally a Jedi in the goal. He would just like force the ball into his hands. It was intense.
But I kind of miss that simplicity of old sports games where
it was so
the whole
fun.
team had like no AI and uses your same controls. Like,
figuring it out.
I think there was some
and the simplicity to it. Figuring it out was so much fun, especially 2-player. It was so much fun.
Did you ever play RBI baseball on the NES?
No.
When the ball is like floating on its way to the outfield, every single outfield catcher moves in sync in the same direction to get
That's
it.
how
which
this
means that
works.
like no one rushes to the ball. There's just like the one guy who's like moving in sync with the rest of the team, but just happens to be in the place to catch it. It's I don't know. There's just something like so cute and nostalgic about seeing a whole team of sport ball people do that I would like. I wish I was there.
It was a lot of fun. Just sort of trying to figure out what the hell we do, and we played like 8 matches before. I think I scored the first goal, and it's because I kind of tried to trick the keeper by passing it to another player that was really far away and drawing the keeper out, and then having like an open goal. And the moment it went in, I think there was about 8 of us. And everyone just like screamed in like glory. It was like a moment in Gladiator when it's just death silence and everyone's celebrating. It was so just pure elation that finally after 8 games we had one goal, one singular goal. The pure elation in the room was fantastic.
So no matter what the screen says, you feel like you've won.
Oh, it was so good.
Okay. I don't mean to end that train of thought, but I just thought of a burning question that I and a lot of listeners probably have for Matt.
What?
And that is if you like Dark Souls enough to keep it up. You think you're gonna keep going, or are you satisfied?
Yeah. I think I would keep going. I jumped in there. I played a little bit. I finally saw that thing, and I was like, all right, you know what? Let me give it a shot. I'll keep going. Because I wanted to play the first one, because I really, really liked Demon's Souls when they first came out. That was like the only game for my PS3 that I really enjoyed.
I think Demons is actually better.
I felt like I understood I don't know. Like, I guess I can't judge Dark Souls right now. I meant to praise the Sun guy. I was like, oh, this is where it comes from. I didn't know where it came from. I just knew that it was in the game somehow.
Yeah, the memes make sense now.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. I'm glad I'm trying this out. I feel like at this point I've gotten so used to this. It's not that I want like extra challenge, but I feel like I understand the game too much that I can just kill an enemy.
Is the tension gone?
The tension is kind of gone. Like, you have to figure out how to, if you can parry and backstab properly and not be totally, frightened and scared, you can defeat most enemies. Now, when they start adding way more enemies at the same time, if you're not too careful, if you pull too much, then that's when it gets a little bit crazy, and skill would, it'll probably be, I can't do that. I definitely can't do that. But most of the time, I'm killing these guys. Like when I fight I had like 5,000 souls, and at the time, that's a lot. And I was like, okay, let me just see. They get you used to going through the mist. So, and nothing happening. So I was like, let me go through the mist real quick. All of a sudden, these 2 gargoyles popped out. I was like, oh, okay, boss battle. So I'm not going to get these souls then. And I at first, it's like, oh, that Dark Souls feeling where you can't beat the monster Because the first monster is fine. You could handle one gargoyle just fine. But as soon as they add the second one just keeps blowing fire over and over again. So it took me like 5 tries to know that, cut off the tail and try to keep them together as much as possible and, wipe them out.
5 tries sounds fine.
Yeah, 5 tries, and I got my souls.
Yeah, that sounds like there'd still be some tension there, too. Like, 5 is nothing to shake a stick at,
Yeah, it's still some tension. The thing that I didn't like is I had 10,000 souls from that battle, so I had 15. I go down, and I couldn't reach back, because I was too scared that I was going to get parried and killed, right? So I was more scared about the way back with my souls because I kept dying. Because I didn't want to kill all the monsters in the area because I was just run through to fight the gargoyles. So when on my way back, there was all these monsters piled up by the ladder. So every time I was like, okay, I can jump down, I'll defeat a couple of them and try to run away. But I never killed that guy with the small shield that parries a lot in the stairway that goes up to the gargoyles when you fight the mage guy for the first time. So I've died 5 times trying to get my souls back, and I was so scared. I was more scared about that encounter than any other encounter, that I don't pick up my souls in time before he kills me. Because when you're trying to swipe all the other hollow guys, that are just in your way and they just constantly attack, and if you don't attack at the right time, they can just hit you multiple times without you being able to block, and you'll just die just like that. When you hit like that, sometimes he will parry you through when you're trying to kill the hollows and kill me, and it's happened multiple times. Like, this is not happening. I'm getting my souls back. But yeah, that was more where my tension was, is basically not wasting my time is where my tension is. And as long as I don't have 1 million souls and die, I won't quit this game. Die in a stupid way. If I die, by my own fault, fine. And I guess this would technically be my own fault because I won't clear the monsters properly. But I'm just so scared because it's such a tight stairway, and I would have to kind of clean out all the monsters to fight that guy. Because the best way to kill that guy is just to backstab him. And if you just learn his pattern and go around where he's swinging his sword, you can kind of get around him and backstab him, and then he's dead. But yeah. Yeah. As long as I don't waste my time. It's the same way I feel about Dead Cells. If you ever played that, it's kind of like
roguelite,
Dark Souls,
Metroidvania thingy.
Yeah, the upgrades are not quite as satisfying, to be honest.
I really got to play that someday.
But it's really cool. It's really fun. But there's moments in that game where you feel like you died because of some overpowered enemy just comes across, and they just teleport to you constantly. Teleport. You're
going to want to be real careful of ledges. I feel like next week we're going to hear some stories about some stupid deaths, because Dark Souls 1 has a lot of narrow pitfalls.
There's like a lot of,
and it also has much
stuff.
And it also gives you a little more a little less, like coyote time and like ledge slip zone than the future games in the series that you have played. Like, not only are there more ledges to fall off in Dark Souls 1, but the engine, the way movement is handled, makes it easier to slip off in Dark Souls 1.
Yeah, I think so.
So get ready. It's fine. Slow down, concentrate, get immersed, turn the phone off, turn the lights off, call in for work sick that day, and you'll be fine.
Light the candles.
Yeah.
Tell Mom I'm sorry.
So when we were doing the practice podcasts weeks ago, I believe I had an opportunity to rant a bit about Metal Gear. So over the past couple of weeks, I've been hammering Metal Gear hard. And I am going through Euro Extreme on MGS4 right now, which is very, very interesting. There's going to be a big video about that soon. But I also restarted the 3DS version of Metal Gear Solid 3 on Euro Extreme. And that game is like, I don't know if a lot of listeners out there are going to know about the 3DS version of Metal Gear Solid 3. Have you guys played it?
I have played it.
No.
It's hilarious. Like, it's this Frankensteined together, like, total conversion fan-made mod remake of MGS3. I don't know if I could call it a remake or a remaster or, like, a reimagining. I guess a reimagining is a better word. Because remakes, you usually expect, like, the graphics to be better. But this is more or less, like, on par with the original PS2 version. It's just, they shift around the assets in different ways. Characters have cool-looking new Fong shader effects. There's a lot more bump mapping going on. However, texture resolution in general is lower.
To be fair, at the time, because I think I first saw this at Gamescom in 2011. So that's a good long time ago. And at the time, it was super impressive.
And they're pushing all
MGS3.
that tech in 3D, no less. Like when you're crawling around in the grass, like you see blades of grass sticking in your face, and when the pain is like whipping his bees around, you have bees popping out of the screen in 3D at you, and it all is happening in a cinematic like 7 frames per second. And I don't actually know what the performance of this thing was like on the original 3DS, but one of the reasons that I think it's so hilarious is that, like, I'm playing it on the new 3DS XL, and it's still, like, I wouldn't be surprised if it averages in the teens, like around the high teens, like 19 or something, because it sure as hell does not look like 30, even unless you're in, like, a quiet indoor space looking at the floor, will you be getting 30 frames per second in this game. And the irony of it all is that makes you want to be more stealthy. Because if you get into a gunfight, you're going to have a really hard time aiming at bad guys with the little nub they give you on the new 3DS, and also with the cinematic 12 frames a second you have to line your shots up with. And and so they've put a whole bunch of new features in the game that makes it considerably easier in some ways, harder in some other ways than the original PS2 version. You can crouch walk, the camera is behind you like in MGS4, which is very, very good for sneaking most of the time. However, they took out the original camera angles, and the original camera angles were camera angles no one really liked being forced with, but in the the re-release of Metal Gear Solid 3, the subsistence version, you can switch between a behind the back camera or a high over the top 2-dimensional top-down view, and that makes it really easy to see over walls and around corners, and you do not have that luxury in the 3DS version. Your camera gives you, in some ways, more usability, but less visibility.
Does the second stick
in some situations
work?
Yes.
So the second stick does work, because this game came out when
your camera.
There was no second stick. Originally,
you used the face buttons to control the camera, the 2 trigger buttons to control your inventory and combat, and the D-pad to control your stance and your item selection. And now they have it set up to more resemble the PS2 version style controls more, but they're still different in weird ways. Like, you can't do that peeking thing. You know, you hold down the first person view, you start pressing the triggers, and Snake is like peeking around corners and standing on his tiptoes, and you can use pressure sensitive triggers to like have a gradient bit of action. And there's holes in the game, there's sight lines that they have in the maps where you can like peek through at very specific angles at very specific pressures that are now much less usable and harder to handle than before, because the level design is pretty much translated over 1-to-1, even though the texture work is different. It's like there's elements in these level designs that are meant to use the old control scheme that are not passing over to the new one well. Like, I spent a lot of time taking out the ocelots on Euro Extreme without the tranquilizer, and that was hard. And it's hard enough on the PS2 version. It took me 2.5 days to get through it on the 3DS version, but it was actually fine because I could just do it on the bathroom, and like, I didn't feel stuck. Like, I kept doing this thing over and over and over again for 2.5 days, but I didn't feel stuck because portable gaming is great. Anyways, so like a brick in that factory can be removed from a wall, and that can be, on the PS2 version, a sight line that you can use to peek into the next room. On the 3DS version, you might not be able to like tiptoe your feet enough to be able to really see through that brick well. You might be able to position the camera to see through it, but not your like own face. It's hard to describe, but if I was playing it in a video, I could probably get the point across. Maybe I could emulate it on a stream one day.
Are you going to stick with it till the end, though?
Oh, yeah, totally. It's so fun. It's still so fun. Like Euro Extreme, no trank, MGS3. Let's do it again. The legend never dies. It's like my favorite way to play my favorite game, but in a new way. It's great.
Extra hard mode, doing it on the 3DS.
Yeah. Yeah, if anyone has a copy of MGS4, I recommend starting up a playthrough on Euro Extreme 2. Like, that game got way more interesting, but I'll get into that. So yeah, is there anything else you guys have been doing over this week that we want to talk about?
I mean, mostly what I do during the week is to like unwind. Either I play like a single game or Netflix and no chill, basically. I'm a big fan of like what Netflix has been doing lately, which is making these these films that not films, but these shows that wouldn't get made otherwise, that are that don't really fit on TV.
Very smart of them.
You know, like Black Mirror and oh my god, Black Mirror.
Oh my god, Black Mirror.
God.
Soon.
Twin Peaks. No network execs would like bring back a 20-year-old sequel with a cliffhanger.
Oh,
Twin Peaks?
Yeah, I couldn't imagine Twin Peaks being on like WSB TV, you know?
Yeah.
Coming on after the news on a network cable over the air channel.
But I guess I could just throw out a name just in case people are about Netflix stuff. Ozark is what I watched this week, and it was actually pretty good. It's like if you were watching Breaking Bad and Walter White was instead obsessed with numbers and an accountant.
Does he become evil?
Basically.
That's the one with Jason Bateman, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's quite good.
What's the scheme that he gets up to with these numbers and these accountings?
He gets approached to wash money.
Wash money?
Wash money.
Like with soap?
Oh no! Like sorry, money laundering.
God,
money laundering.
Damn it, George! Of course, that's what he meant.
Yeah, put it, you know, with some soap and
stick it in there.
Just wash the money.
Give it a good rinse.
Yeah. There's fantastic, interesting characters that are more complex and not just like, not just like these like paper thin characters. It's quite an enjoyable watch. I would. Another one is Mindhunters that I
still need to watch
well
that. I need to watch Mindhunters.
That is, if you like crime, like getting into
crime,
the psychology of like just minds. Oh my god, I love that. And I usually have these stupid deep talks with people about why people do certain things. And that's okay. Most people don't care to listen to that garbage at all.
And this is a TV
the
show
people
about
I find out that. Say again?
And this is a TV show about it, basically.
Basically, but more, more for the criminals and the people, yeah. So it's still interesting. It's still pretty interesting. I quite like it. It's pretty gritty, but I quite like it.
Oh my god! Yeah. So this is my time. If we're speaking about Netflix, allow me to gush for a second.
Gush for us.
Being over here in the beautiful land of the sun of Japan.
Glorious Nippon.
The only reason I still pay for Netflix is because of a certain Japanese TV show called Terrace House. I don't know if...
Terrorist House?
Terrace House. That would be intriguing in Japan, of all places, to have a terrorist house. But no, it's called Terrace House, and it's literally the only reason I still pay for Netflix, as I barely watch anything on it. Well, I don't have the time to watch most TV shows. But the new season started today, and oh my god, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Is it Japanese show?
Terrace House.
Terrace House. So let me break it down for you. It's a Japanese reality show where it starts out 6 people, Japanese people from different corners of Japan, all young, hip, people who aspire to do certain cool stuff, like be models, or there's like a dude who's like a pro snowboarder and stuff like that, all live in a house together. And you have in the UK we have Big Brother. We had Big Brother, but it was like pretty nasty stuff. It just wasn't like great. It was kind of like weird people who would just do nasty stuff and abuse each other, and it was intriguing to watch. Whereas the Japanese show Terrace House is so wholesome and so pure because it's Japanese people all being really mild
polite to one another,
being super polite. They like go on little dates with each other to like the beach, and they have like nice days with each other, and they go for picnics, and they do all cool shit. And it's just so wholesome and so beautiful. I love it so dearly. It's fantastic.
God damn it. So it's like a cuter, more responsible version of something that was popular in the West. But now it's like made wholesome.
Essentially, yeah. So it used to be on Fuji TV here in Japan, and they had a series, I think it was in Kanazawa, near Tokyo, Japan, like kind of near Yokohama way, and that was one of the first series. And then I don't think it did very well. Like they have they have like a different location for each season, the house that they live in.
So the contestants in the Terrace House, do they get along? Do they fight? Do they have drama?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes there is, depending on what type of person comes in. So when I moved to Japan, the season that was going on was one made by Netflix, because it's a Netflix exclusive. So Netflix picked up the rights to the show here in Japan, and they made like a new season, which was one in Tokyo, in a place called Daikanyama in Tokyo, which is like a really classy, stylish part of Tokyo. And it was just so interesting to watch young Japanese people interact with each other when I first moved here, to see how like they talk with each other, how they sort of hang out and do stuff and approach things. It was so intriguing. And then they had like different people come in. Most of them like lived in Tokyo, but there was this one girl who was from Osaka. And usually people from Osaka are kind of a bit more boisterous compared to people from Tokyo. Tokyo people are very quiet. Osaka people are kind of more friendly and more talkative. So this one girl from Osaka came, and she just like caused all sorts of problems. Everyone in the house didn't like her. There was loads of fights and stuff like that. But that's the kind of drama you get. But it's still like Japanese, so it's like, who didn't take out the trash? Let's all sit down and have a 20-minute conversation about like why we should take the trash out.
No way.
There's a PBS Idea Channel video called "How is Terrace House Like a Let's Play?" I can't hear what they're saying, but I can read the description, and they're talking about how it's kind of meta and self-aware, and how it spins and subverts the typical reality show format. Are you getting that vibe from it?
I don't know what it is about it, but because the last one took place in Hawaii, so they had a bunch of like half Japanese, half American, half Japanese, half like Italian, like different. In Japan, they very racially call them halfus. Like people who are half Japanese, half something else.
They're only half Japanese? Okay.
Yeah.
Whoops.
So they had this one series in Hawaii, and they could mostly all speak English and Japanese, so it was kind of like an out there version of it. And then they've come back to Japan for the new season. So it's really intriguing to see, like, that one maybe had a lot more drama in it because they were a bit more Western. So that one was really interesting. But I think the fascination with it is just, they're so like mild-mannered and sweet, but the life seems so good. Like they all go like surfing or snowboarding, and they go out drinking at Japanese izakayas and stuff like that. I think if you have like a fascination with Japan, or especially if you live here, it's just intriguing to see like your life replicated on screen almost, because they still live normal lives. They still go to work and they still do stuff like that. But there's just something so wholesome about it. It's like really sweet, and like the dates they go on and all that kind of stuff is like. Really,
is it popular among Japanese people, or just like
I think
foreigners and expats?
It's pretty popular here in Japan now. Like most of the people who appear on the show end up being like famous models or like actors and actresses, and they become pretty famous afterwards. So it's definitely popular here in Japan, but it also seems to be incredibly popular with expats or people who have a fascination with Japan anyway, because it's also on the American and the UK Netflix now. I think it's one of the only Japanese shows that is subtitled on those.
And it's like the boring one about how mundane
it's just
life
so
is
interesting.
instead of like a wacky game show.
Yeah, I don't even know how to describe it. Yeah, literally, it's most of the time watching people go on dates that are really sweet, and then watching them sit and eat dinner together, talking about their dreams and their aspirations. I don't know, but I love it, and I can't get enough of it. And the new season starts today, so I'm super excited.
Cool. I don't know. I find it really hard to imagine enjoying a show about like a reality show spin that sounds that mundane. But I guess you just have to experience it.
I give everything a try, so I'm down for it.
And this is a thing. Like, there's a subreddit for this. Like, I've been Googling it while you're talking about it, and there's a huge amount of like of fan input getting put into it right now.
When I first came to Japan, like nearly 3 years ago, and the Boys and Girls in the City, the Tokyo version that was going on, which is still my favorite one. It definitely was not that popular then. I don't think it was on American Netflix. It was on Japanese Netflix, but had English subtitles. So I don't think it was quite popular then. But when the Hawaii one kicked off, and it was obviously in America,
maybe they know.
It got more popular, and it got subtitled and put on the other Netflixes, and so did Boys and Girls in the City eventually. And now I think it just like exploded in popularity after that.
Jeez. And I mean, that's like a smart move too, because there's such a big Japanese community in Hawaii. Like, they probably had no problem finding people to like film and work in their own language.
Yeah, exactly. And like thousands of people apply for it.
And they pick like the most like boring, ordinary, wholesome, sweet people.
So usually they're kind of this similar archetypes. Like, most of the girls tend to be people who are like young girls who aspire to be models, or they always have like one girl who's like a model, another girl who works in a cafe, who's kind of like a mature, like pretty woman, like who's like in university studying. In the most recent one, there's a girl who's like one of Japan's like best ice hockey players. And then the guys tend to be like sporty guys who are like in university, who want to be either
normies,
models, or like in the last series there was a guy who wanted to be like an actor who lived in LA. So
this week on Normie House, nothing unexpected happens.
I've been hearing the word normie a lot more lately. Is there a reason why?
I think it's because everyone and everything is getting weird and stupid. It's because we live in 2017. We've entered into the, like, whatever the normie timeline was, we have divulged far.
Okay. I'm there now.
So let's see. We ready to move on to the next topics?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I got to gush. Now I'm happy. I'm fine.
No worries. Oh, you got to gush. Well, earlier today you were... what is the opposite of gushing? What is the, like... what bodily action? Slurping? Scrunching up? What was it that you were doing when you realized how lame the Dead or Alive stream big announcements were?
I don't even remember. I just remember like watching on Twitter it unfold. I wasn't watching the stream myself, but I remember one part of the day was people tweeting, "Oh, there's like a surprise Dead or Alive stream." Okay, that's weird because no one really cares about Dead or Alive.
Yeah.
They must be announcing something, right? Because who calls a stream to an announcement? So I don't know.
Announcing that. Sorry, I'll let you do the reveal.
I mean,
you've got this one.
I mean, the reveal is so funny, but so then I'm like, oh, okay. So I just ignore it because I don't particularly have an interest in Dead or Alive. And then I sort of check back on Twitter and people are saying, okay, the stream is happening now. And I think they talk about the series a little bit. And then all of a sudden, like it ends. And like,
yeah, but there's a big announcement, right?
I'm like, oh, I wonder what the announcement was. And they're like, oh, we are ceasing development of the Dead or Alive series completely.
That's the announcement.
Wow. Wait a minute.
Well, not the series. It's just DOA5.
Oh, okay, so they started. Wait. They started talking about the Dead or Alive. They didn't mention that they were shutting down. They just started talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they basically the stream. The stream was about that they were like, I don't know whether it's like canceling or putting on hiatus the Dead or Alive series in general. But they're just.
But they didn't say it until the end?
Yeah, they didn't say it until the end. I don't know how long the stream was. I'm not really sure. But they must have been talking about the series for a while, with people waiting in bated breath for an announcement of a new game, for them to just be like, well, I hope you enjoyed this stream. We are canceling.
No, okay. No. I'm looking at like the news article roundup. It's not that they announced that they canceled it, but it does sound kind of like fishy, sappy, and sentimental that they would hold like a farewell stream to end support for the 5th Dead or Alive game. The quotes from Yohei Shimbori says the free-to-play version is doing well, of DOA5 that is, and we created so much downloadable content that the sheer amount would be worthy of the Guinness Book of World Records. However, it is time to stop what we were doing for now and look into the future, which means we may not be around for some time, but we are very much looking forward to seeing you again someday. What I take that to mean is just that, whoops, we're going to make a different sequel or a different game before we do the next DOA again. It might be like 4 years, but yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm reading from this. Anyways, it's like hilarious irony that you announce a stream for a big announcement, people watch the stream, the big announcement is that DOA is not going to be their next big announcement. Anyways.
Wow, depression.
It's not that depressing. What if they're making like a good Ninja Gaiden game? Have you guys at all, Matt? You have an Xbone, right?
I have an Xbone. I have a big bone.
Have you tried playing PUBG on it?
No. Why would I do that?
Are you into PUBG at all?
I've played a few rounds. I'm not too into it. It didn't hook me.
I can't believe you're not a normie who plays PUBG. So I wonder if why it didn't hit you and hook you and sink its teeth into you is because there might have been like engine issues or optimization problems, a kind of a general overall feel of jank.
Yeah, well, not into the jankiness.
I'll make the announcement here on the Dad and Sons the Bunny Hop podcast that the Xbone version of PUBG is seems just like it's got all those problems made worse. IGN has given a pre-release version of the game, which is on sale for $30.
Whoa.
A 5 out of 10. Yeah, they call it the preview edition, preview version. It's on sale at the Microsoft Store for $30, but people have uploaded ample video footage of this thing's LOD levels just fizzing buildings out of existence right in front of players teleporting all over around the maps because of netcode issues and the frame rate just kind of I don't know, maybe it's not so bad playing Metal Gear Solid 3D at a cinematic 7 frames per second during cutscenes anymore after seeing some of this stuff. This is even jankier than the actual PC release, which is also janky as fuck because it isn't a released game yet. It is a poor port of a already janky PC game.
Okay. What a good idea.
I really, really think it's time to stop releasing games this early, guys. Like, I don't know. At some point, this is gonna bite someone in the ass really hard.
Yeah.
I eventually, right? Maybe.
I was like incredibly cynical about the Xbone and the 4K and stuff like that. And when they released the PUBG, I was just like, yeah, that's gonna run like crap. I'm pretty sure you can pull up the tweet. And now it's running like crap. Like, because if it's running crap on PCs that have like 1080 Ti's and like the best stuff, then why would it run well on, like
the underpowered
console?
Of the two mainline consoles?
I totally understand where Microsoft is coming from, though. Like, getting on the ground floor with a game that hasn't been released, but is like taken off. It makes sense. They
hasn't
needed
been
something.
Released a misnomer.
But also, it makes sense because the PC version is also janky as fuck, that people will not expect quality. But it seems they even fucked that up a little bit.
Well, it's also so much more tolerable nowadays to have games with low quality polish, and there's markets that seem to handle that okay. So
like people come to my job asking me like, "Oh, I play PUBG. Like, what do I need?" And I'm like,
Oh, you need the big bucks. You need a good ass job. You need stock options. You need that 6 figures. You need that Patreon money.
I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, well, whatever you get, it's still gonna run like garbage. But I mean, you can try this. Yeah. Like, there's benchmarks on stuff, but like this. But yeah. Go ahead.
Speaking of closed markets of inferior products, Steam has had a lot of its features blocked in China. People woke up on December 15th to find out that Steam's community social features have been blocked by the Great Wall of China. That includes profile groups, social content, badges, inventory, game hubs. The workshop, which is like, ooh, that one's really gonna sting. Market and broadcasting. The friends list and chat rooms still work. What I'm not necessarily chat rooms, but individual chats. What I'm not really super informed on is how, if so many of these community features are getting blocked, how do people add new friends? I don't, I wonder if like the player search and friend request functions are still up. But this bodes poorly for a future trend of Steam in China. The paradigm of Chinese economics over the past 10 years has been like switching between their so-called communism and what is like very, very blatantly a capitalistic free market. They get successful foreign products over there and then start figuring out ways to block them out and then sell their own Chinese-made like copies or partnered versions of it. In this case, we have Tencent, who was given exclusive rights to distribute PUBG in China, has had the game absolutely positively take off over there. And Steam has been functioning as like the network backbone for how to get that game working over there. And I'm wondering now if Tencent is going to hold on to the PUBG license, but try their hand at making their own store that follows whatever weird Chinese internet censorship rules they want that Valve can't be arsed to put up with right now.
Considering how many like online MMO, MOBA, Chinese things there are, I'm surprised there isn't like an ultimate conglomerate that
store.
Made a store that has all of them. Considering how many players they have as well, they have like the biggest player base in the world, right?
Yeah, they're making the world more money than the rest of us. So
how much money does Tencent make?
They're huge. When I was like looking at my figures from my videos over the past ones, like they're like the number 2, sometimes number 3, sometimes number 1 video game publisher in the world. Like they constantly vie for EA and Activision spots.
And they own Riot.
Nintendo's.
Well, they own Riot as well. And obviously Riot make League of Legends, which is one of the most played video games in the world. So, and on top of that, they own like all the mobile MOBAs, and I think they have like something like 10 million players a day in China, which is just insane.
Like Clash of Clans? They own Clash of Clans as well?
No, I think there are some Chinese MOBAs. Do you remember the Game Awards had like that specific best Chinese game award category?
Yeah, which was such a weird... And he announced it in between commercial breaks. Like there was no fanfare behind the game. Do you guys even remember which game won?
No, I haven't got a clue.
Yeah, I'm gonna shut up while I type and Google it.
Wow, Epic Games is on this list.
Oof,
I did not know this.
Yeah, they're a big company, and I think the Chinese gaming market is, especially considering the genres it hits at, which is like MMOs, because there was like a small period of time when South Korea did a lot of MMOs. Like they did that really famous one that had that character creator, which was just insane.
You talking
China's
about Black
like,
Force?
Black something.
Force.
Black something, Black Desert or something. But
Black Desert,
Black Desert, yeah.
Black Desert.
Yeah. The genres they like harness on are the ones that are really popular in Japan, which is like MOBAs and MMOs. So they just have millions of players just pumping in like microtransactions every day for those games, just making bank.
Forest.
I'm looking it up. The winner of the best Chinese game at the TGAs was a MMO called JAX3 HD Remake. I don't know. Somehow I feel like something got lost in translation.
There you go.
There.
And we have never heard of that game, and I bet
Nope.
you it's got like at least 5 million players or some ridiculous number.
Oh god, this would be fascinating to look
They
into.
do own Clash of
No
Clans.
way.
Yes, they do.
Oh my god. Tencent has its fingers in everything. Yeah, wow, June 21st, 2016, Tencent seals deal to buy Clash of Clans developer.
Holy hell.
Jeez Louise.
Wow.
Everyone's getting bought out by Chinese companies. So now that has been stated and that can of worms has been opened up, we have a tip line open up for viewer questions. Send in your questions to dadandsonspodcast@gmail.com, and if you get lucky, you will hear it at the end of these episodes. This week we got 2 good questions in, 1 good comment, 3 emails in total. But the first that I want to read out loud here is from Carol K. They say, "Hey guys, love the new podcast. Got a little inside baseball question. It seems everyone who more or less means something in the YouTube gaming space knows each other, even from before they made it big. How does that happen? Is it just cross-promotion between channels when they're small, or does talent really tend to flock together naturally? Please keep doing what you're doing."
Oh God.
Yeah, I know Matt has opinions about this.
Oh no, opinions I would share, but I will tell the story if people don't know. I definitely will share that. Like George, the way I met George when he was like 20,000 subscribers.
Yes.
Game Vid Expo.
Yes.
Total Biscuit was there. He asked a question and he talked to Total Biscuit. He got on the Co-optional podcast, but before all that, like I saw him there, and one day we didn't know each other, but I saw him at Game Vid Expo. So when I saw him at Publix,
at the grocery store,
I was like, "Yo, I saw you at Game Vid Expo, or whatever," and you were like,
"Don't say
come
which
over
one,
to
though.
my house."
Don't say which Publix it was.
Yeah.
Please, okay.
Apparently, we lived like 2 or 3 blocks from each other.
We were
weirdest thing.
Closely located for a good year.
Yeah.
Before you moved out to the bad neighborhood.
Yeah, and I got robbed twice. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, you said it. Our first encounter was at Game
It was
Vid
George.
Expo.
Somehow you met George, and then afterwards 2 robberies happened.
Yeah.
Trust me,
Coincidence?
I left that little
think
toy
not.
gun in Matt's living room when I broke out of the door. And anyways,
Right. You're casing the place. Oh yeah, I wanted to record the George Sox video. Casing the place.
I like them. Wait, that happened after the robbery.
Don't mess up the timeline.
It's the perfect crime. He'll never suspect it.
You're using the Force. Oh wait a minute, that's a joke that people might not get yet.
Hey, Carol K, I have a real easy answer for you. Matt, you mentioned that we met up first at Game Vid Expo.
Yeah.
And I noticed that my social network, blossomed after going to MagFest.
Yep.
Cons are the answer to your question. People go to conventions, and conventions are a lot more fun when you're a shit-tier E-celeb versus a regular, normal person. And I noticed that with the way it happened with me, I was more or less languishing alone for 4 months or so until Total Biscuit spotted my NRA video. He promoted that blew up and kind of sort of put me on the map. And then after going to MagFest, I ended up in Austin Eruption's room. I never knew the guy, and when I went to MagFest, I didn't come with solid sleeping plans. It was Randy Yazinchak, actually. Matt, you remember Elder Geek, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we did a podcast with him, which I guess is another example of this kind of YouTube social networking stuff happening. We had gotten in touch through... Was it through Matt that I got in touch with Randy, or was it through network.
I think it was through a
email?
network, actually. Yeah.
The point is, I went to Bagfest. I was going to stay in Randy's room for a couple nights. I did, but I didn't have plans for the third night. I don't exactly remember how it happened, probably because I was tipsy at the time. But at some point at Magfest, like 2014, I became good friends with Austin Eruption, who also has a YouTube channel. He was a fan of mine, like met up with me, and we hit it off. And I ended up staying in his room for the final night. And his room was full of like minor YouTubers and bigger YouTubers, like Gerard and Pro Jared showed up at some point. And that's partially because, like, I don't know, it shouldn't be too controversial to say that, like, Austin wants to make friends with everybody. So, like, everyone who's anyone kind of came through his room at some point. Yeah. And that's how a lot of those connections ended up getting made. And like Matt, you've seen this happen. I can testify that it happens. The easy answer to your question is cons. When you show up at a con and you have like even a small minor YouTube channel behind your name, you're gonna make a lot of good connections.
So and most people don't like talking over. They don't trust anybody over the internet. So what has to happen is that you have to meet in person to make sure that you're not some weirdo or whatever.
Yeah. Amen to that, because mine is a little different in terms of I'd done some stuff for GameSpot prior to working at Rockstar, and I met people like Danny O'Dwyer and people in the UK gaming press and stuff like that. But then I went to work for Rockstar and basically had to shut down ever speaking about games publicly, NDA'd about stuff, so I couldn't do that kind of stuff anymore. And then when I left Rockstar, I had ideas to do final games and have all these guests who I had on a list. And I remember oh my god, I can't remember. I think George messaged me and was like, "Hey, you live in Japan. How do I live in Japan?" And I was like, "I'll tell you, George, if you become a guest on my podcast." And he was like,
before
fine.
You know it, we're like having hangover vomits at the McDonald's together.
And then we met, and even then we knew like some people in common who we met up with also. And then next thing you know, we're hungover together, hugging each other in a McDonald's. So meeting people is definitely the way it happens.
Yeah. Once you've established that contact in real life, like you keep them around. You know who to come. Like the people who made our art and music, Ace Waters and Strex. Those are both Magfest friends. Like I have met them before, and I know to trust them. I know, like we've established a rapport.
Money and stuff.
Yeah. So I think that sums that up.
Yeah, that's
the collusion conspiracy happens because of cons and basically needing good connections and businesses to grow businesses.
Yeah.
Rise B sent in another question. He asks, "Hey George and Co. This one's like more for me specifically. Did you see that old ARG from the MGS2 Critical Close-Up was cracked recently on the Super Bunny Hop subreddit? I have two questions relating to this. Do you know of anyone cracking the code before this?" Two people on Twitter DMs cracked it before the 14 people on the subreddit. What made you think to do an ARG? I think it folded into the themes of MGS2 really well in terms of being kind of self-aware and looking at the piece of media less from the perspective of the lore than the fun things going on in real life around the lore.
What's an ARG?
Alternate reality game.
Gotcha.
For those who don't know, I'm not going to spoil how to find it or how to get it, but there are Easter eggs hidden throughout my MGS2 video that might lead people down a fun wild goose chase with a reward at the end. In the MG box, you contained a bunch of outlines, script drafts, and planning materials relating to making a critical close-up. I know you don't really do critical close-ups anymore, but has your planning and writing process changed much since those days? For instance, do you still use the classical outline of arguments or the Toolman model much anymore, or have you moved on to bigger and better things? I still use Toolman when I need help for writing scripts. At some point about want to say a year and a half to 2 years in Bunny Hop, I stopped filling out the worksheets individually per video. Just kind of got into a writing flow where I felt like I had a lot of that process, if not memorized, then at least I was used to it enough by now to do it without actually filling out the paperwork every single time, like in the good old days. But for really serious videos, I still do go through that process. Like arguments I don't want to screw up are arguments that I put through the Toolman test. There you go.
I think you sent me something like this when I was asking about writing.
Yeah. I remember doing that when you were asking for advice on your Metal Gear reviews at MagFest, right?
Yeah. It was at MagFest. Yeah.
It all goes back to MagFest. Like so many like ideas and significant moments are MagFest moments, which is coming up less than a month. Well, I don't get to stay at the real hotel this time though. Anyways, once again, if you have any questions or topical suggestions for us, send them into dadandsonspodcast at gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from them. We look forward to hearing from them. And thank you very much to Carol K and Rise B. We are right on time to wrap up, though. If you two have any final words to give, we should start thinking of sappy, sentimental, wholesome things to say. You know, something that maybe a Terrace House contestant might leave the episode with. I don't know. Liam, what do they say at the end of Terrace House episodes?
If you can imagine, like, the cheesiest, most generic lines of someone who is leaving a house where they're all emotional, and it will be along the lines of, "The last 6 months have been the greatest of my life. I've made friends who I will know forever. I have pursued my dreams, and I've been supported so greatly to leave this house."
So they don't have, like... What problems do these kids have?
Japan is Japan, so they talk in a very, very just honest way that is very cliche sometimes. So basically just, "Minasan, arigatou gozaimasu," and then they just walk out the house. So, yeah.
I'm surprised there isn't a word that specifically is defined as the past 6 months have been great.
Can you just talk like that, Liam?
In Japanese? I'm trying to think of like what the word they use when they leave. I don't know. I guess just "hontoni arigatou gozaimasu." Like,
hot in the air, gazimasu.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
What is that? A Japanese from Texas? Japanese person from Texas?
Texan.
Texan.
Jap ass.
I'm trying to make sure I don't say anything racist by accident by putting Jap with Texan and Texas together. So
I'm sure they exist. I don't know. I went to a really nice Texas barbecue restaurant in suburban Georgia that I think was owned by a Korean family. So
hey man, Korean barbecue is like the best food.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
that's a national cuisine. So that restaurant makes some kind of sense.
The food of my people. When I go to a Jamaican restaurant to get me some Jamaican patties, a lot of them are actually Chinese people in there. Well, they're like mixed. Like you see, like they look Chinese, but their eyes are like brown.
Oof.
It's really.
Dude, where are you going with this?
Miami.
Yeah, you're
talking about Asian people's eyes. We need to wrap up. We need to stop.
Wait,
though, Matt.
Wait,
whoa, where are you going with
you
this?
guys made it weird. It wasn't weird until you made it weird.
It's not that weird. It's not that weird. Before we get weirder, though, let's
Oh my god.
Let's just like press the button on our jetpacks and fly out of this situation.
Just cut it out.
大天が叫ば ART 確定レギュラーボーナス30ゲーム継続のレギュラーボーナスレア子役成立でビッグボーナスの昇格抽選ビッグボーナスさらに突入すれば ART の大チャンスとなる想像を超える 興奮と感動を最高のエンターテイメント体験がついに始まる。
どちらかが死にどちらかが生きる。生き残った者がボスの称号を受け継ぐ。お互いの忠を尽くせ。さあ来い。
パチスロメタルギアソリッドスネークイーター。
So we also saw Star Wars, right?
Yes, twice.
Yeah.
Wait, I saw it twice. Matt, how did you see it?
I saw it. What do you mean? Did I see it twice?
Yeah.
Well, I saw it once in theaters and another time like watching it on the dark web.
Oh,
because I didn't have time to watch it again.
The hackerspace.
The hackerspace, yes. With a bunch of Hispanics talking in the background, so that's great too.
Oh no!
Yeah,
so it was like one of those like Seinfeld video recordings where like
Yes.
Kramer sneaks into the movie theater with his camcorder.
Yes. So I mean, they didn't talk much, so it was all good.
I'm wondering though, like at what point in the movie did you notice that? At what point was Star Wars stuff happening, and then you just start hearing like foreign language movie audiences?
No, it was only in the beginning. In the beginning, like you can hear them like speak like a. I would like to say Spanish, but it I don't know the difference between Spanish and like Portuguese and all that. So, but yeah.
So it was one of those.
It was one of those.
So you just like major plot twist happens and you hear like Dios mío.
Yeah, because like the title, no, because the title was all in another language, and I didn't actually look at it to see if it was like from like a Brazilian copy or anything like that. So I didn't actually pay attention to that because I was already setting up.
That sounds like the sketchiest thing anyone will have ever downloaded in their whole... Like, that's bringing back memories from, like, high school when I had, like, no money but all the time.
Basically, yeah, exactly. I basically just needed a refresher just to make sure that all my notes were correct. And,
was this my fault?
Yeah, I pretty much got it correct. So I'm ready to go.
I saw it the day after opening on Saturday, really enjoyed it, went back to see it again to freshen myself up before the podcast because I didn't mind because I quite enjoyed it, but that time I took notes.
Okay.
So, yeah, what do we think?
Who wants... right, what is our spectrum here?
Good?
Should we go from...
Bad? Thumbs up?
Should we go from
I think it's
good
a parody of Star Wars, but...
What about if expectations were met, exceeded, or subverted, and whether or not they did it in a pleasant way? Because, like, this movie, I found it, like, shocking and hard to get used to, but once I did, I, like, loved the tone and the parody and the self-awareness of it and the, like, morals and the message behind it, which feels like a really weird thing to say, but, like, it does so many things that seem antithetical to the Star... This is a Star Wars movie where there's a straight guy comedy guy routine, like, 5 minutes after the credits. 5 minutes after the text crawl starts up. Like it ends with a "Your Mama" joke. When I was like seeing this stuff go down, it was just like it was such tonal whiplash compared to what you used to expecting in Star Wars that like my jaw was dropping. I was like, where's the boring? Where are the boring space politics? And they like still get into that, but in a fast, fun way where the Star War has rules of engagement for the first time. Like they talk about like when to open fire, and they like declare what they consider each other's crimes before they start shooting each other. Like on top of the Star War itself kind of feeling like a more formalized, established affair, there's this weird juxtaposition behind how the Star War this time is at a much smaller scale than the usual.
Yeah.
It's weird. Scale. It's weird because I definitely think you need to see it twice. This is what I was sort of talking to you guys about the other day. Because the first time I watched it, obviously I had expectations for what I thought it was going to be like, the questions I wanted answered from The Force Awakens. Mm-hmm. And I felt, I think, the same as Matt does, that I was disappointed and it wasn't good. And
it's like he did it on purpose.
Yeah,
Ryan did it on purpose.
because
Everything that Jar Jar Abrams set up in the first one, he just like, nope. You know, like when she gives Rey gives Luke the lightsaber, he just like throws it,
he just tosses it.
Yeah, it's weird,
You know?
and it's really weird because I thought about it for a day, and I was like, do I like this movie? Don't I like this movie? What do I like? And then I was talking to people who hadn't seen it, and all I could say to them was that it was different, and I couldn't really explain why. So I was like, but I have to go watch it again. I wasn't really planning on doing so, but I went to watch it again, and then I came out because I already knew what was going to happen, and I knew what Rian Johnson had changed, and all the questions that I wanted answered or didn't want answered, you know, I already knew about that. I watched it just as a movie, and then I was like, I actually really like this film. I like the tone and the way everything plays out. It's really self-contained. It takes place in like 3 locations, and that's it. Yep. Over a space of
that's
a
really
day.
Cool. I think it's like the raid of Star Wars.
Which is okay.
It's focused.
But I don't know. I really kind of came out the second time thinking, that was pretty good. I actually really liked it.
Yeah, it's kind of divisive. I have another friend of mine who I don't think likes it, but I'm like wondering if that same sort of transformation would happen upon a second viewing, because it is jarring, and it's real jarring, but I think it's jarring in ways that make sense. Like Luke's character, for example, is nothing like his character on the surface, at least, from the original trilogy, but if you go back and rewatch the original trilogy now, you see like a lot of whininess and cynicism in young Luke that maybe might have flown over your head when you were a kid, and you could totally imagine this like whiny teenager who's like fed up about his place in the galaxy, growing up to be like a cynical, whiny adult fed up with Galaxy's place in the galaxy.
Let's be honest. Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi is just Mark Hamill in space.
He grew up to become like Dude Lebowski.
He's just Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill is just playing himself in a Star Wars movie. I feel like if you've ever watched interviews with the way Mark Hamill talks and the way he expresses himself, obviously,
especially the way he drinks that milk, like that's definitely Mark.
He has such funny facial expressions in this movie, and like some of them seem almost unintentionally giggleable. Except upon the second viewing, I noticed that there's this scene where when Kylo Ren is waking up and he sees Luke with the lightsaber. In Kylo Ren's version of the story, Luke is making this like dumbass eye-popping constipated face. And then when Luke tells his side of the story, he looks like a concerned, sad old man. And I'm like, maybe the stupid-looking facial expressions is part of, like, everyone's internal bias of how that situation went down.
Well, that's what it is.
I quite like the evil face.
I liked it, and it had so many conflicting moments to it. It harked on a lot about the sort of connection of people between the Force, and then Snoke is like, "Oh, I just made that up as a ploy," and you're like, "Oh shit!" So it means nothing, and they're moving towards this thing, and
I feel like we have an opposition here. We need to be fair and balanced.
Let's fucking slow down right now, okay? Like, there's 2 incredible, I would say, like, sins of the movie. Okay?
Yes,
They do some really good things, and then immediately it goes to crap. And it goes to garbage town. Garbage? It goes to garbage town. Okay, when Snoke made the connection with Rey and Kylo, and you're like, whoa, this is great. Like, one of the strongest moments in the movie when they're talking to each other and delivering that story, and that's like the only thing that brought up like the little side quest Rose and Finn was going through, which was just the boring.
But how was it boring?
Oh
it
yeah,
was boring.
I thought
it was boring.
I thought the casino stuff was really boring too.
It's unnecessary and boring.
It's so Deus Ex Machina.
They're flying away from the freaking destroyer. Like, why didn't they just kill him? In the beginning of the movie, they shot a planet. Why they can't shoot something that's right in front of it?
Ultimately,
that's so stupid.
Smaller and lighter.
Ultimately, it led to nothing. It led to nothing as well.
Okay,
because they failed.
Wait, how did it lead to nothing?
Because they failed. They failed, and all it led to was killing Phasma, or so it seems.
Were you not entertained as they were failing and killing Phasma? By the way, Phasma's still lame, I think.
No, I agree with Matt. The casino stuff was really boring.
Oh my gosh. No, you got to see like rich people get theirs and hear some insightful commentary about the military industrial complex.
Anyways.
And I also okay.
So Snoke, look, I'm gonna get my point through. All right, Snoke, they made him to a great character, right? And then
they fucking killed him.
All of a sudden, he can't sense anything. Like he comes in, he lets Rey keep her weapon. She pulls it out, smacks her with it, put it next to him, like he's a freaking G. And then all of a sudden, Kylo kills him because he's turning the lightsaber and he's gonna turn it on to his true enemy. No, what the hell? Come on.
I mean, I get that it was on the nose, but the idea is that like the movie does. I think one of the movie's big central themes, aims, and objectives was to demystify Star Wars and kind of mine for new material from the mountain of trying to like look into the logistics of how magical Star Wars bullshit happens. And in this movie, unlike all the others, we get like a lot of effort to demystify the Jedi supernatural powers. And we like have visual metaphors showing how they see in the future and in the past at the same time. And the kind of inevitability and hypocrisy of prophecy plays into that as well. Like you have this
you say that, but this arguably has the most Jedi-like magical powers in the whole of the series.
But No, and I think that's like the idea. Like, Luke sees in the future Kylo Ren becoming an evil Sith Lord. He thinks about killing him to prevent that, but that is what causes Kylo Ren to grow up to become an evil Sith Lord. And meanwhile, you have like Snoke making these predictions and seeing into a future that's not clear, and you're like, oh, he's like using Jedi mind tricks against them. And I think this movie has really, really tight theming involving like mutinies and Jedi mind tricks continually happening on a greater and greater scale as the thing goes on, and that just kind of folds into that very same theme. I thought it made sense with the pacing and the themes.
It made sense with the pacing because they have to kill him off before the third movie. But Snoke can use the Force from long range.
Yeah,
from long range.
My biggest problem with this film is Snoke. The first time I watched it and the second time I watched it didn't change in that. They created this really powerful character who was almost as powerful as Sidious, it seemed. Like, he used Force Lightning. He could literally control Kylo Ren. And Kylo Ren...
He slammed Hawks to the floor in the beginning of the movie from his Game of Thrones. Like,
he tortured Rey and got the Skywalker information out of her in like a subtle scene to the side that no one saw, and they killed him without any explanation to how he ruled the First Order, which is fine because the Emperor just appeared out of nowhere too.
I don't care
my
that much
problem
about them killing him.
My problem is
we never got much time with him anyway.
But my biggest problem, and the one that doesn't sit right with me, is if Ben Solo was with Luke in a Jedi temple training to be a Jedi Master, and his parents were General Organa and Han Solo, where the fuck did Snoke come from and just like influence this kid? And Leia knew all about it because she's like, oh, Snoke changed his heart. So where the fuck did Snoke come from?
No
there is just there is no.
And he gets killed off before any of that.
Yeah, and this is the problem because the only character that really gets any depth, apart from Luke, because we know a lot about Luke from the past and now, the only character that gets any depth and character building, because even Rey doesn't really get any of it. Kylo Ren is the only character that has a lot of backstory to him, and I think he's portrayed really well in this film in the conflicting sides. Like, you can see him balancing, and then by the end he just goes full blown, angry at Luke, dark side. But we don't know where the fuck he came from. Like, how did he get turned by Snoke? Where did Snoke appear from? And I don't think we'll find out now because they just killed him. So
yeah,
that's my biggest.
I see that as a necessary challenge of trying to make new Star Wars movies. Like, one thing that I think is gonna be hard is that there's a lot of characters being juggling around this story now. Like kids who don't know who C-3PO is are gonna have no idea why C-3PO is even a character in this movie. And you have like for kids who also don't know the characters, there are like 3 old ladies who apparently are in charge of the same ship in different ways. You got you got like 2 different teams of ragtag heroes in the first movie where like Han Solo is kind of coming out from the old trilogy to be a party to a new party of rogues and no scoundrels in the new movie. And it's a lot. There's 2 different versions of R2-D2 now. There's the real R2-D2 and then like the new hip one that's slightly more high-tech and sleek looking.
And it's R2-D2 turns up for what, 5 minutes? He just wakes up.
Some of that like
on
old
the Millennium
Luke comes
Falcon.
out. When Luke sees R2-D2, he totally switches over to 70s mode.
Yeah.
It's cute.
There were problems with the film, ultimately, like there is any film. But
I loved it.
But I still think after the second watching, that I actually did enjoy it mostly, even for the problems. Like, another big problem is no one tells anyone their fucking plans. Like, if Holdo had just told Flyboy, Mr. Poe Dameron, what her
they
plan
had a
was,
thing going on, dude.
that would have been fine, right? And not even that.
I don't think Holdo knew.
Not even that. If Luke had just told Leia that he was going to walk out, he's an apparition, he's just going to walk out, distract Kylo Ren while they all make an escape, instead of Poe Dameron having to have his leadership moment and think about what Luke was going to do. That didn't make any sense. Like, why would Luke just... If Luke's plan is to distract Kylo Ren, why did he not tell Leia, and then Leia just hightail it out?
And they could have still did it in a way that
universe.
the audience didn't know. He could have just told Leia, and then they could have just started the Luke scene. And then you can see them, once they find out, they could have seen them like kind of going away and trying to get out of there, instead of making that whole thing like, oh, he's trying to save us. But they wanted to attach Flyboy to it, you know?
Yeah, they had to give him his leadership moment, yeah.
Yeah,
which
like
didn't make any sense.
They really should have tied some of these characters together. Like Rose, they should have cut her out, to be honest, man. Like,
no.
They should have cut her out, man, or gave her a small part, because she took up too much. Listen, Finn needs to be with Rey, okay? Not with this girl, not with Rose. Okay, Finn and Rey. No one's with me. No, just
Rose
me?
is adorable.
Rey is like asexual though. Well,
he's kind of boring.
And come on. I mean, the sexual tension between her and Kylo Ren is like off the charts. So
I have more fun with, I think, every other character in these movies. So the most boring parts for me was like Rey moping around Porg Island.
Yeah, she delivered lines very weirdly in this movie, especially on that island.
She's very British. She's very British. Yeah. It's like she got more British in this film. Even I noticed that. I was watching and I was like, she is quite British.
Like she delivered. I was like, that's a bad taste in my mouth. What's going on with that? The island part was a little weird. It was a little rocky at first. I would say I like the way they portrayed Rey in this to be like just some kid with the Force. She could barely stand against Snoke's. What are those guys? Those
getting
those
slapped
guards?
in the head power.
Yeah, the red guys.
The red guys.
Yeah.
Oh, come on though. That scene, no matter how
it was great.
Up, killing Snoke
was great.
Yeah.
That fight scene is definitely the best fight scene in almost all Star Wars.
See the way you fix that. Yeah. The way you fix that, the whole Snoke thing is that if they showed that Kylo was getting stronger, like in that scene beforehand, when he got shocked or something like that, maybe something to make it seem like Kylo had some upper hand against Snoke, like, oh, he's becoming more powerful. If they had some scene like that, it would have made that whole lightsaber Snoke getting killed a little bit cleaner than how like abrupt it was.
This is this is my problem with this part of the film, the whole Snoke thing, because that scene could have played out with Kylo Ren trying to kill Snoke. And what he could have done is injured him. Like, Snoke would have noticed at the last minute and then just, like, deflected it, but taken, like, quite a serious injury. And he's already pretty bashed up by the look of him anyway, right?
Yeah.
So he gets injured, but because he's incredibly powerful in the Force, he obviously notices what goes wrong, and that sticks with his character that has already been shown to be really powerful, right? So if he gets injured, then he goes away on the escape pod that Rey escaped on, Snoke's own personal ship, and he's escorted away. That would make sense as to why the guards would fight Kylo Ren and Rey, right? So Kylo Ren's turned against Snoke. But it doesn't make sense because we don't have any backstory as to why those guards would be so loyal.
And who the hell is Snoke? And why does he look like that?
Yeah, but you can kill him off early in the next film. You can kill him off early in the next film because he's injured and Kylo Ren's taken over the First Order. But you can't just like kill him without getting rid of this really powerful character that has such an influence over arguably the main character, because The Last Jedi really is all about Kylo Ren. It's not about Rey. It's Luke's backstory with Kylo Ren in the First Order, Kylo Ren and his mum and dad. It's all about Kylo Ren. So
I think the Snoke stuff is fine. I don't know. I think it makes a lot of sense and seems perfectly acceptable from like a outside of the movie script writing and pacing judgment. There's a lot of like internal holes and conflicts of logic going on, but the movie has an escalating series of mutinies caused by characters who are self-doubting themselves. And in the Star Wars universe, you always have like the Sith apprentice killing his Sith master, and that fits in with like the lore and the established story of how we usually see these characters go down. But in the movie's aim to deconstruct all of that, it does it by kind of fucking with Empire and Return of the Jedi situations. The whole scene with Snoke is like a meld of the I am your father scene and the Return of the Jedi killing Emperor Palpatine scene, except the I am your father scene, the like speech there is instead, I'm your parent, I'm really important. It's your parents are nothing. They weren't really important. Make something of yourself by joining us. And
but the problem is it happens in the middle of the middle film. It's not the climax of the second film. It's the middle of the middle film, and he's a character who...
And I think that's clever. The Hoth battle happens in the middle, and half the movie is like Dagobah training. It uses Empire settings and situations to tell its own story by like misplacing them all around in places you don't expect. And a lot of that stuff like genuinely took me by surprise. Like after Force Awakens, I was expecting an Empire remake, and that's not what we got, so I was surprised and my expectations were exceeded.
I mean, we got it in the literal sense
Force Awakens,
that the Empire won almost in that film, and then
right,
Luke's final lines being "I'm not the Last Jedi," and then the third movie being Return of the Jedi. It's still very on the nose, but if you take the different parts, I think the one thing I really liked about The Last Jedi is that the scenes were emotional enough. Like, in the cinematography as well. Like, when Holdo flicking destroyed Snoke's ship, jumping into hyperspace, and it all went, like, silent. That was fucking awesome.
Wait,
that was that right amount of movie magic where you just turn off your brain and you're like, yeah, this is just cool. This is just freaking awesome.
Cool.
God, I am such a weirdo. I think that is like the one bit of like Star Wars lore in this movie that makes me mad.
It makes no sense.
If you could just do that, every space battle scene in the whole rest of the trilogy is invalidated because you could just get like a kamikaze droid to smash cruisers into Star Destroyers.
Yeah, nobody just turn your brain off and enjoy.
Because
suddenly...
The whole film is about loss. Like, Leia talks at the beginning of the film about Poe Dameron's plan for killing the Dreadnought.
Oh, yeah.
And they get rid of all the bombers. And she's really
also
pissed
about
off.
It's also about how stupid being a cool hero guy actually is.
Yeah, and then Holdo is against that, right? Holdo's against that. But then her final act is to be like a fucking badass hero and light speed a whole ship through another one.
But she only does it when all other options truly, absolutely, positively are exhausted.
Exactly.
Until then,
That's great.
she wants to play it smart.
Yeah, and then when that scene happens and the silence is perfect.
Yeah, but then when Admiral Akbar says it's a trap, you'd think he would just like turn on the hyperspace engines and smash into the Death Star instead of having to go through this like whole elaborate routine of flying through the
you gotta love the sweet spot. It's everywhere in these films, man.
Yeah.
Oh, we're approaching a sweet spot. To drop my bombs in you. And then in the end too, it's like, oh, Finn is just like, oh, I'm gonna drive my ship right into this thing. I'm like, why? Why are you doing that?
Come
so
on,
that the DP can establish geometry.
He was going all Will Smith Independence Day.
Yes.
And it was awesome. And I had like tears in my eyes because I like Finn. I like tears, and I was
Finn's
like,
Finn better not die.
Yeah.
Oh, hell
Finn's
no.
not gonna die. They're not gonna make Finn die.
But this is what I mean about The Last Jedi. I think
yes, you don't have the black guy die. Okay.
After Mace Windu got tossed out the window, they're not gonna. Remember when the
it's
guy
because
who
they
made
gave him
the
a purple
Boondocks,
lightsaber.
Remember the Boondocks comment where Huey is just like, oh, there's a new Star Wars trilogy coming out. They better not have the Black Jedi die first. And the Black Jedi actually died first.
Unlimited power.
But this is what I mean about The Last Jedi. It had lots of like emotional moments. It was a film full of not just like one or two, but like quite a few. Like you're sort of watching in awe and silence. Even when like the shots of Kylo Ren when he's about to face off with Luke, like when he's holding the lightsaber towards his face and he's just like beading of sweat. I think like the cinematography was really cool about the film, and the way it looks is really nice.
The second half was like really tight, and this this is another thing that I really hated about the film is like everything about that island. I mean that planet was great, like. The salt
island
and the salt on the top and like the red
the mineral
the
planet.
Salt joke as well.
Yeah,
Did you notice
Which I
that?
think was like another bit of like demystifying the experience of going to a theater to watching Star Wars. They're like, oh, you expected this to be snow? I mean, I guess we still have to like fill our quota of Empire references, but at least we can like tell you it's not snow.
Yeah. Did you notice? I think I'm right in saying. Did you notice who the two people were in that scene when he said salt?
No.
Well, the guy who says it, I think, is maybe someone connected to the film as like an assistant director, and the guy next to him is Garth. What's his name? Gareth Edwards. He's the guy who directed Rogue One.
Oh, nice.
So he makes like a cameo, and obviously when they say salt, it's like right in the wounds of anyone who fucking hates all the changes to Star Wars.
Wait, you think it's like a double entendre?
I think it's a
proper
salt. I think it's a proper salty joke.
Oh my gosh, I think that's a film theory.
I think it's a proper salt joke because he looks at him like Gareth Edwards, the director of Rogue One, looks at the guy who says salt and like sort of like smirks a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't notice that. I didn't know that was a cameo of a director. I was like looking for Empire references, and there's like a guy with a big bushy white beard who holds up some binoculars to his face, and I think that was like a straight callback to a very, very similar shot of bushy white beard guy looking at the AT-ATs through binoculars in Empire, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. Both viewings yielded like a good ass time, and I feel like it's weird for me to say. I have very, very high praise, but before I sum up my end of the discussion summary thought, I want to say that what was my train of thought that I was going to say? I have my back of the box quote, but yes, the thing that I find real uneasy about the movie is this balancing act it tries to do between being smart and meta and self-aware and deconstructing Star Wars while also having to be Star Wars. Like they still need to sell toys to the kids. Like there's porgs everywhere. There's kind of like
quick hands up.
Insufferably witty
Porgs.
Joss Whedon dialogue.
Porgs, yay or nay?
I'm a meh on them. I don't feel strongly either way because I think they restrained themselves really hard. Like, the Porgs don't talk. They don't take up that much screen space. Like, if anything, I think the Crystal Foxes and the Last Guardians look and sounded weirder and more out of place than the Porgs.
Well, the obviously the crystal critters, as Finn put them, were definitely
crystal critters.
They were definitely for one moment and one moment only.
But they have like 4 shots of looking like cute, cuddly toy animals you can sell the kids.
Yeah.
And they also don't. They look like they're from Final Fantasy or something. Star Wars aliens are usually way uglier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Star Wars aliens don't look like they don't look fashionable. They're like usually like big globs that just like plop around. Anyways,
wait. There's one thing. There's one other thing I want to ask. How you felt about.
Well, I want to finish my thought as well after you.
Okay.
Yes. We got to wrap up.
I just because this one is really weird as well. The bit where Leia uses her Force powers for pretty much the first time ever.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was kind of awesome, to be honest.
Really?
I was really confused.
I will take that BS and I'll eat it up.
You'll take that BS?
I would take that BS and eat it up.
Mind tricking Kylo, like clouding up his mind trick to mind trick Snoke.
This is the reason why is because everyone thinks that Leia's gonna die, and then she dies, and then they're like, nope.
I will admit, the shot of her being sucked out of the ship was fucking awesome. Like just where like. She looks up for that one moment, closes her eyes, and then fucking sucked out into space, and you're like, "Holy
Vacuum
shit!"
set to high.
That's how they got rid of Leia. But then I don't know whether it's the way they shot how she comes back onto the ship. It just looks kind of dumb.
Yeah, it looks like she's getting pulled in by a wire. And the first time I saw that, I actually was like, I don't know. You don't ever see. It's implied that Leia is Force sensitive, but it's never implied that she has Force powers. So I guess the idea is that she's like desperate enough to survive that she just like pulls it out of her ass. No, and during the first viewing, I was like, so.
I think there's probably a backstory that we just don't know of, and probably
God, there's so much of that now.
She's Anakin's daughter. She's definitely
Force powers. I thought they were going to cut back on that. Like, no, you got to read the expanded universe to understand how like.
So, dude, they've got books to sell. Jesse Cox has like a podcast about this shit, you know? People have got to make their money somehow, but
the first time I saw it, I like still wanted to believe that she was just kind of swimming through space, but the second time I saw it, I was like, nope, she's just getting pulled in by an invisible wire. That's a Force power.
I just don't know how the Force saves your life from like the vacuum of space. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay. Before I get cut off of this conversation, I'm just gonna go ahead and say,
I am so sorry. I deeply want to apologize.
Yeah,
Matt,
I don't mean to cut you off.
The floor is yours.
Whoever
Matt.
has their hand up, Yoda's ass to do the puppet thing. That was that was just too much for me. It was just too much for me. That was just way too much nostalgia. I was just like, no, guys. CGI, just do the CGI.
No, the puppet was awesome.
Yeah, and I'll chalk it up to be like, basically the Star Wars parody is what I think about the film. What I was saying about the planet with the red sand, that was all great. And then when Luke comes out and a bullet hits him and it looks like he exploded.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
So
everybody in the theater was like,
all the kids gasped.
Like that was
parents
great.
Are like, wait, I didn't know we went to a PG-13 movie.
Yeah.
Wait, what did they give it? Come to think of it,
I will admit, I was slightly disappointed because my only theory in my head
was
how he
PG-13.
survived that bullet was that he was using his lightsaber to deflect all of them, and we were going to have a really fucking kick-ass scene of Luke deflecting all of the bullets. But obviously that never happened because he was a hologram essentially.
Wait. So Kylo then shoots everything, and I thought that was great. I thought that was great. Like he's like, oh, is he dead yet? And it added to that, kind of like the theme of the funniness of the movie. then he comes down to fight him, and then Luke is doing what you thought Luke was going to be doing through the movie, like an old guy doing, like, I don't know, it looks like he broke his back on some of those tricks, you know?
Oh,
like
the bit where he does
the
like the Yoda
lightsaber.
spin. When he does like the Yoda spin.
Yes,
It's so cool.
It's basically the Yoda thing. And like Mickey Mouse from Kingdom Hearts, how he would flip around was basically Yoda. And then, I don't know if any of you guys ever seen that, but all the Kingdom Hearts guys will get what I'm saying. I think that part, like what you were saying, Liam, that part where he finds out that he's just a hologram, and then you see him in the back, I thought it just blew my mind. Reason why, because you never think about the Force that way. And every step of the way, like the Force has been used. Like Force was the best character in the movie.
Yeah, I agreed. Someone said that to me yesterday. Someone said the best character in this movie was the Force.
It's the Force. Because I mean, like,
guys,
whoa!
I gotta
you expect that out of the Force Unleashed video game. You don't expect that from a movie.
Like
and they went
seconds.
crazy. They went almost anime with it. Oh my god!
They did
I would
almost
love
go
to see
super
Rey
anime
like
with it.
jump out of a freaking starship and just like fall down to a freaking planet, like just using the Force. That would be freaking crazy. Oh my god! But
okay.
Okay.
No worries.
All right.
Do it.
3, 2, 1. Sync.
And then
okay, good.
And then he falls off the rock, gets back up, and then disappears.
He goes poof.
What the why?
See,
That's how Jedi die.
No. You see, I have one slight issue with that as well. You see, this film is like full of little issues that build up, I think, what made me originally think it was a bad film. But Luke should have died and faded away when he falls back and like lies on it. I think instead of like getting up.
Come on.
No. Getting up, making us think he's okay, looking into the sunset, and then fading away. Fuck that. No, fuck that.
Well,
I don't like that.
Wait, how did he make you think he was okay?
Because he got back up, and he sat on the thing, and you're like...
But the music is swelling, and you're getting, like, the first shot of him, like, looking up to the two suns on Tatooine and being like, I'm gonna go on a space adventure. And there's, like, symmetry to that story. Like, the first magic Jedi power Luke witnesses is Obi-Wan mind-tricking 2 stormtroopers, and the last Jedi power he gets away with is mind-tricking both sides of an entire battlefield. It's like it's thematically tight.
If I was shooting the scene, I would not let him fall like he wasn't a legendary character. I would he would just be sitting on the rock, and if they were gonna make him fade away, he should have just faded away looking like a badass.
Yes.
When I used my power, that's it.
When they cut to the scene of him like sweating and stuff like that.
Yeah, just kind of like, oh, okay. Like, what? You didn't just do the coolest thing? Okay, forget that. Yeah.
So here's my interpretation of that scene and its problems, and that is that, like, the first time I saw that, the first time I saw Luke like dramatically walk out onto the battlefield,
so
like
good.
at a speed of 0.2 miles per hour, as the camera like wide angle looks at the flat line in front of him. It was Dragon Ball Z as shit.
That shot,
I was like, come on, get on with it.
That one shot of when he's like really small on the screen and it has the whole of the shield door behind him, like that really big wide shot.
It's anime.
It's so fucking anime. It's amazing.
And I was just like waving my finger like, okay, come on, get over with it. We know you're powering up for the next 2 episodes. And then like at the end, I was like, oh, he just bamboozled all of us, and that was the actual military strategy. And I think that's also why they don't let the viewer know ahead of time, so that the viewer is second-guessing everything and wondering why Luke is taking so long to finish this fight. And yeah, because like the scene bamboozles the bad guys and the viewers. If the viewers have been like trained to expect action to move faster in Star Wars, like this is Luke stalling the bad guys in the movie, and the audience is getting kept on the edge of their seat in real life. It's neat.
Before we move on,
Yes.
Can we just quickly say how good is Adam Driver as Kylo Ren?
I like it. I didn't like his character at the end, but I kind of liked his character in this film better than the first one.
He could not find a cowl to put on.
Yeah. Oh man.
I mean, oh come on.
He definitely got stronger to beat Snoke. With all them.
Yeah.
He's been hitting the gym for this one.
He was busting out for that shit. He knew. Yeah. He was just waiting for Rey to call him again through the Force. He's like, hey girl, you caught me in a bad time.
I heard someone in the audience say, "Whoa!"
Yeah. He like drops out. He's like, "Oh, I think I feel Rey coming. Let me do a couple push-ups real quick."
I gotta look my best. But there's girls around.
Do you know what the stupidest thing is? My favorite moment, literally of the whole film, is when Adam Driver just screams, "Shoot that piece of junk out of the sky." Like, you can sense the, like, intense anger he has for his own back history and, like, seeing his dad's ship, like, curse him almost in front of him. And just, like, how he screams that line is so fucking perfect to me.
Also, you like the bit of environmental storytelling when we learn that... when we get to see Finn like have his stormtrooper club division training get put into action, and you're like, oh, now that guy from that last movie makes more sense.
That guy? Which guy?
Remember the stormtrooper with the like electro club?
Oh, the one who like swings
looks
it
at Finn's and is like, oh, it's you, and does this little dance, and everyone was like, what was the deal with that guy? And I guess the implication now is that Finn was involved with some division of stormtroopers that swings clubs instead of shoots blasters and misses.
They ruined Phasma though. Again.
Yeah.
Oh, Phasma doesn't... You can't not ruin Phasma. Phasma's a DLC character. She's a reskin. She's a $3 gold stormtrooper with the cape so that you can, like, pretend that you care... So that she can pretend she cares more about the game than people who just, like, have to, I don't know, train hard and not buy $3 gold skin DLC.
A Japanese friend of mine is, like, such a big Phasma fan. And the whole promotion that was pushed behind the characters before The Force Awakens, like Phasma, Kylo Ren, and then obviously when you watch The Force Awakens, Phasma's in it for a total of 7 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And then I remember her talking.
It's worse than this one.
I remember talking before The Last Jedi, and she's like, I really just hope Phasma appears. And I'm watching it thinking, oh man, she's gonna be so fucking disappointed.
Phasma fans are the new Boba Fett fans. Is that the role she plays in the new movie? Like, just as, like, the cool-looking side character who keeps getting thrown into danger for, like, 10 seconds of screen time?
She always fucks up, though. She always fucks up.
So did Boba Fett. He just, like, trips into the Sarlacc. And that's how cool that cool character gets to be. So, all right, we got to wrap up. What are our final thoughts if we had to sum up in one sentence?
Star Wars the parody.
Okay.
The Last Jedi, probably better than The Force Awakens, but I'm still not sure. They killed Snoke too early.
I think that from a like filmmaking and writing standpoint, this is actually the best Star Wars since Empire.
From a cinematography standpoint, I think it definitely is.
I definitely think it's the like smartest one since Empire, the most like avant-garde and kind of subversive. Yeah. Like, Empire is really bold when you think about it. Like, all the good guys die. They spend the whole movie on the chase from the bad guys. The hero, like, gets his hand chopped off, and it's much darker and slower than the first movie had us set up for.
Wait, we're doing more than one sentence?
Actual romantic struggles.
What's going on here?
Yeah, never mind. Sorry.
I will add a word to it as well. I think best described that describes the movie with me is fun. The movie was fun to watch. Like there was moments where I was like, and there was moments where I was like, oh God. And most of the time I was having a good time, I would say.
Yeah. Agreed.
I just don't. I really don't agree with the decisions that they made. But I mean, it's just a movie.
I think they're fine because the movie magic is so much more important than the lore at this point. Like, I don't think we want Star Wars to become like Metal Gear became. like so far up its own ass of its own lore that it can't like make new stories anymore.
I think Kylo Ren's like the best thing that's happened to Star Wars in ages.
I'm happy with what they did with him in this movie. Like in the very beginning of the movie, he smashes up that dumb helmet that never looked as cool as Darth Vader's helmet in the first place.
Yeah, like Snoke says, take that fucking ridiculous thing off, and then he immediately smashes it.
And it really was ridiculous. Like I have a feeling like the director just didn't like the guy's design, and I know a lot of people didn't. I didn't like the design of his costume in the last movie.
Ray,
I think he looks better without it.
You're nothing. Your parents were nobody. You're so great.
Star Wars,
so freaking great.
Subverted.
God, I don't want to go back into it. I know we're trying to end it.
Yeah.
But the one thing.
But how does she know about the Jedi text and the place and stuff like that?
She predicted it in the future.
I just want to say the different thing I like about it is with all previous Star Wars entries or iterations, there's always been a definitive light and good. Even with Anakin, when he was good, he was good and he wanted to be like a Padawan, a good Padawan, and then when he got turned, he just went straight to the fucking dark side, right? The one thing I really like about Rey and Ren is there's balance between the two of them because there's no one to control them. Like Rey doesn't really have a master. Luke doesn't train her at all. And then Ren, Snoke kind of just uses him, doesn't train him to be like a Sith Lord because as far as we know, Snoke isn't a Sith Lord either. So there's like balance between them. Like when Rey gets really angry, she like straight up just murders people. Like she murdered those guards.
No, she blows up Luke's house.
She when she's in the Millennium Falcon and she shoots like the fighters out of the sky, she's like, I like this. And she's like, so there's like this weird balance where she gets really angry and Ren like gets really conflicted. So I really like that there's no defining, like Rey is leaning into the light and Ren is like leaning into the dark, but there's still like back and forth between them. I think that's really good about this new trilogy.
All right.
Yeah. And it makes sense if the like old Jedi traditions are going away, then the relationship between the master and the apprentice would be changing as well.
Yeah. Well, it basically doesn't exist in this one, so I like it. They just exist out of nowhere. It's cool.
And I also like how like rational the logic is behind making it. Anyways, we were going to move on, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
There's just so much to talk about. But I think the consensus is, despite all the nitpicks, we all liked it.
Well, Matt.
I had fun with it. Yeah, I had fun with it.
Fun, right.
But you can have fun with bad movies.
Like is a good word.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're not stepping on the internet's toes too hard, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm
well,
sure
we'll find out next week.
Yeah.
Find out next week on
I hate Matt.
on the Dadcast.